The Mafia's Forgotten Promise, written by Short Story Queen. Chapter 1. The Alley Where Ghosts Reappear. Nico's point of view. Rain has a way of thinning out the city's noise, washing everything into a kind of hush that feels too honest. That's why I heard her before I saw her. Light footsteps hitting puddles in a rhythm that didn't belong to the usual nighttime chaos. I was on my way back from settling a dispute that should have ended hours ago, coat still carrying the scent of gun oil and cold steel, when I caught the flicker of movement at the far mouth of the alley. At first I didn't recognize the shape. She was just a silhouette pressed against the brick, breath catching in sharp pulls, a small figure wrapped in oversized clothes meant to hide more than a body. 3 men cornered her, their voices low and ugly, the kind of sound I'd learned to track long before I learned the difference between right and wrong. Something told me she wouldn't scream. She'd run, but screaming wasn't in her nature. The men noticed me. People like them always do when death walks in with his hands in his pockets. I didn't have to say anything. A glance was enough. 2 ran. 1 tried not to, and that made my patience run thin. He backed away, muttering excuses, and I let him leave before I changed my mind. Only then did she look up at me. Gray eyes. Wide, startled, the color of storm clouds over a childhood I'd buried because remembering it hurt more than forgetting. No one else ever had eyes like that. I stepped closer, and the world seemed to tighten around her face. She flinched when I lifted my hand, not because she feared me, but because she feared everyone. That was when I knew. "Amara," I said, voice low, not trusting myself to say her name any louder. She stiffened, and for a breath I watched the truth hit her. The recognition, the disbelief, the kind of fear that wasn't about the men, but about me, about what I'd become. She whispered something I couldn't catch, her throat was too tight. "You're safe," I said, though safety meant something different in my world. She backed against the wall, not running, not reaching either. Rain slid down her hair in thin lines, darkening the strands until they looked almost black. She kept searching my face as if trying to peel away all the years and find the boy she once knew. But that boy didn't exist anymore. I shrugged off my coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. She shivered when my hands brushed her arms, and I pretended not to feel the tremor. If I acknowledged it, I might not let go. I should have walked away. I should have told her the city wasn't a place for ghosts to return. Instead, I murmured, "You're coming with me," and guided her out of the alley before the night could steal her again. She didn't fight me, not out loud. I could feel the resistance inside her, though, like a bow pulled taut. The car was waiting where I left it. Marco leaned against the hood, chewing a toothpick like always, eyebrows climbing the moment he saw what I was bringing. "You're kidding," he muttered, though he stepped aside. "You collect strays now?" I ignored him. Amara hesitated before sliding into the passenger seat, her fingers clutching the coat as if it were armor. When I closed the door beside her, she watched me with a quiet, wary intensity that felt far too familiar. I'd forgotten how her silence could speak louder than most people shouting. As I started the engine, she finally found her voice, soft and unsteady. "Nico, don't pretend you know me anymore." Her words should have stung. They didn't. They only made something deep in my chest twist in a way I'd tried to kill off years ago. "I never stopped knowing you," I said, keeping my eyes on the road because looking at her too long felt dangerous. "You disappeared. I didn't forget." She shook her head. Raindrops clung to her lashes like glass beads. "People change." "So do promises," I replied. "Some get stronger." The silence that followed wasn't comfortable, but it wasn't empty either. She was trying to shrink into the seat, hiding from a world that had hunted her long before tonight. Every so often her fingers curled tighter around the coat, as if reassurances needed to be gripped physically to be real. When we reached the penthouse, she hesitated again, eyes moving over the tall windows, the soft glow spilling across the polished floors. It wasn't the gold and marble that unsettled her, It was the fact that she belonged nowhere, and this place made that too obvious. I opened the door for her and waited. She stepped inside with the cautious grace of someone accustomed to entering places she planned to leave quickly. She didn't sit. She kept walking slowly, brushing her fingers across the back of the leather sofa, as though grounding herself. The city lights painted her hair in muted reflections, turning her into the kind of memory that creeps back when you try to sleep. "You shouldn't be here," she murmured. "You shouldn't be running," I answered. Yet, here we are. She finally looked at me fully. I could see exhaustion clinging to her like a thin film. She wasn't built for this life, yet she survived it better than most. "I didn't come looking for you," she said, almost apologetic. "I know." I stepped closer and she didn't move away this time. "But you're staying. At least until I know who was chasing you." Her breath hitched, not loud, but enough. She knew the price of my protection. Everyone did. "Nico, it's not your responsibility." "That promise we made," I said quietly, keeping my voice level so she couldn't hear what it did to me. "It wasn't for kids. It's for now." Her eyes softened in a way I hadn't seen in years, and for a moment the air between us thinned. I wanted to touch her, just to confirm she was real. But her fingers lifted to stop me. Barely a touch, just a ghost of contact against my wrist. "Don't say things you don't mean," she whispered. I leaned in slightly, enough for her to feel the warmth of my breath. "I don't waste words." Something flickered in her expression, fear and longing tangled together, and she stepped back before it could turn into something neither of us could undo. But she didn't leave the room. She stayed close enough for the tension to hold, stretching thin and fragile between us.
Amara's point of view. I never believed in ghosts, but seeing Nico again made the past feel like it was standing right in front of me, breathing the same air, watching me with eyes that knew too much. I wanted to run. I also wanted to step closer just to see if he still smelled like sandalwood and rain, the way he did the day we made our promise. But the man standing here wasn't the boy who held my pinky with trembling fingers. This version carried danger the way others carried names. He came closer, just a few steps, but enough that the warmth from his body began to cut through the cold still clinging to my skin. "You're safe here," he said, and despite everything I'd learned about survival, my body reacted to those words with a quiet, aching relief. I hated that he could still do that to me. I didn't answer. A part of me was terrified that if I spoke, my voice would betray how deeply I felt the gravity of his presence. For the first time in years, I wasn't running, and that scared me more than the men in the alley. Nico watched me the way someone studies a map, looking for places that folded, places that led somewhere dangerous. His gaze drifted to the damp strands of hair stuck to my cheek, and something softened in him, so subtle the untrained eye would miss it. I didn't. "You're trembling," he murmured, barely audible. I looked away, but he stepped close enough that his coat brushed my leg. The scent of him, clean smoke, rain, and something dark beneath it, pulled at memories I'd tried to bury. When he reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, I felt the touch all the way down to places I'd forgotten could feel anything at all. I should have told him to stop. I should have stepped back. But for just one moment, I let myself lean into the warmth of his hand. Just one.
Chapter 2. A promise he never forgot. Nico's point of view. Sleep has never come easily, but tonight it refuses entirely. Amara is somewhere in the guest room down the hall, wearing dry clothes I left on the bed and wrapped in a blanket too soft for someone who has learned to sleep with her guard up. The thought of her curled there, trying to convince herself she doesn't need this place or me, keeps my mind awake long after the city quiets. I pace the length of the penthouse once, twice, then stop at the window. Rain still streaks down the glass in thin lines, each droplet catching reflections from the streetlights below. It's a view I've seen 1,000 times, but tonight the city looks different. Too alive, too watchful, as if it knows something is shifting. When I finally turn away from the glass, I hear the soft creak of a door opening. Light footsteps trail across the hallway, careful but not careful enough to escape me. She appears at the threshold of the living room, wrapped in the oversized sweater I left her. The sleeves swallow her hands and her hair falls in a loose, uneven curtain around her face. She looks smaller like this, not because she's fragile, but because she's tired of pretending not to be. "I didn't wake you," I say, because her expression already tells me she hasn't slept. "No," she murmurs. "Just couldn't." She moves as if she expects the room to reject her presence, drifting toward the balcony where the curtains sway with the soft pull of the wind. I follow at a slower pace, letting her think she can get a moment alone before I reach her. When she steps out onto the balcony, the night air lifts the ends of her hair. She breathes in as though the cold anchors her. I stand in the doorway for a moment, watching the way her shoulders rise and fall, how the city lights paint her in gold and gray. She looks like someone the world chewed up but failed to swallow. I step beside her, leaving enough distance to let her choose whether to close it. "You used to come here?" she asks quietly, eyes searching the skyline instead of me. "Most nights," I answer. "Helps me think." She lets out a soft breath that almost sounds like a laugh. "I remember you saying that once, that rooftops feel safer than floors." It surprises me she remembers something that small. Back then we were just two kids hiding under a leaking roof after stealing sandwiches from the convenience store down the street. I'd told her the sky made me feel like nothing could trap us. She'd believed it even when I didn't. Tonight she doesn't look convinced. Her fingers brush the balcony railing, tracing the cold metal. I watch the movement, too quiet to disturb it. Every instinct in me wants to touch her again. Just a hand at her back, the reminder that she isn't alone. But I force myself still. She's already running inside her mind. I can feel the distance growing and tightening like a stretched wire. She finally asks, "Nico, why help me after all this time?" "Because I meant what I promised." She turns her face toward me, the lights catching the edge of her eyes. "We were children. Promises don't care how old we were." Her breath clouds faintly in the cold, drifting between us like a faint veil. She studies me as if searching for the boy she once knew beneath the man I became. The man standing before her is sharper, darker, and far more dangerous. But something inside me softens under her gaze, the way metal gives slightly under heat. "I don't want to drag you into what I'm running from," she whispers. "You already did." She flinches at that, though not out of fear. Guilt settles across her features, heavy and quiet. I step closer, not enough to trap her, just enough that the warmth between us grows. "If someone wants you dead," I say, "then they've already entered my world. I just met them first." Her lips part as if she might protest, but nothing comes. Instead, she watches the city, her fingers curling around the railing until her knuckles pale. Every part of her is coiled and tired all at once, like she's been holding herself together with nothing but stubbornness. I lean my arms against the railing beside her, close enough that our sleeves brush. She tenses at the contact, but she doesn't pull away. The air between us thickens, not with danger, but with the weight of years neither of us discussed. "You look different," she says after a long silence. "Well, so do you. Not for the better." I turn my head slightly, letting her see the answer in the faint curve of my mouth. "You survived. That alone changes people." She swallows, gaze dropping. A strand of hair falls forward, brushing her cheek. Without thinking, I reach out and gently push it back. Her breath catches, small, nearly silent, but enough to shift the space between us in a new direction. Her cheek warms under my knuckles. She doesn't close her eyes, but she leans the tiniest fraction into the touch. That small movement is louder than anything she could have said. "Amara," I murmur, not expecting her to answer. I just need to say her name. I've held it behind my teeth for too many years. She watches my hand fall away, her gaze following it as though deciding whether to bring it back. For a moment she stands very still, and the pulse at her neck beats fast, betraying what she refuses to say aloud. "Nico," she whispers, voice thin as silk. "You're making this hard." "Good." I let the word settle slowly. "Maybe you'll stop trying to vanish." Her eyes flick up, meeting mine. Something fragile opens there, wanting, wary, fighting itself. I can feel the gravity pulling us closer. She hesitates, then shifts her stance so our shoulders nearly touch. A deliberate choice, the kind of closeness that feels like stepping across a line drawn years ago. We stand together like that, the air warm despite the night. Her sleeve brushes mine, and she doesn't move away. Her fingers rest against the railing, only an inch from mine, as if debating whether it's safe to close that distance. She finally whispers, "I didn't forget either." The words strike through me like a low, steady pulse. Not an admission of love, not a plea, just the truth, the one she's kept buried. I turn my hand slightly, letting my fingers graze the back of hers, just enough for warmth to pass between us like a secret. She inhales sharply, but she doesn't break the contact. The quiet tension grows, slow and inevitable. The night presses close, almost holding its breath. She shifts closer, barely, but enough that her arm brushes mine again, lingering this time. I let my thumb move in a subtle arc across her knuckles. Not a claim, just a reminder. A call to something we lost and found again in the same breath. Her eyes lower for a moment, not in fear but in surrender to whatever this is becoming. I lean in slightly, not touching her mouth, just letting her feel the ghost of what could be. She tilts her face up by instinct before she stops herself, breath catching in a soft, trembling pause. "We should..." she begins, but the words dissolve, her resolve slipping with them. "Not tonight," I murmur. "You don't have to run tonight." She closes her eyes briefly, gathering herself. When she opens them, the decision is clear. She stays close, resting her hand beside mine, not touching now, but not withdrawing either. A silent admission that she's still here, still choosing this moment despite the storm outside. The city hums around us, unaware that something old and dangerous has begun to wake beneath the surface. Chapter 3. Danger wears familiar faces. Nico's point of view. By morning, the city forgets how violent the night was. It hides the blood in gutters, wipes the screams from its streets, and gives itself over to the sound of engines and sharp heels echoing off wet pavement. But I don't forget. And neither does Amara. She's already up when I pass by the kitchen. I expect to find her curled up on the couch or still wrapped in sleep, but she's standing at the window staring out at the skyline like it might offer an escape route. She wears the same sweater from the night before, sleeves too long, the hem brushing her thighs. Her hair is loose again, darker at the roots from the storm. There's something haunting about the shape of her in my space. She doesn't belong here, but she fits, and that contradiction digs deeper than I'm ready to admit. She senses me before I speak. Her spine straightens just enough, her posture alert without being defensive. She doesn't turn. "They'll keep looking for me," she says, voice quiet and low. "Even here." I step closer, slow enough not to startle her. "Then they'll find something waiting." She finally looks over her shoulder. Her eyes catch the morning light and hold it, like slate just beginning to crack. She studies me. Not the man I am now, but something older beneath it, something that makes her pause longer than necessary before speaking. "I don't want you caught in the middle." "Too late for that," I say. "The minute I saw you in that alley, there was no middle." She exhales barely. The weight of what she's carrying is stitched into every movement, every breath she takes, like she's afraid it might be her last. I don't ask what she did or who she ran from, not yet. She won't tell me, not until she's ready, and she's not. She crosses the room slowly, bare feet soundless against the polished floor. I track the movement with a calm I don't feel. The closer she gets, the less space there is to hide what's still between us. She stops just a few feet away, her eyes flicking to the scar on my jaw like she's only now seeing it. That wasn't there before. Neither was the look in your eyes, I reply, and that's the only answer I'll give. She doesn't ask how I got it. She knows what kind of life leaves marks like that. I move to make coffee. It's an excuse to turn away, to keep my hands busy. She follows, leaning against the opposite counter, watching with a stillness that makes her unreadable. I pretend not to notice how her eyes trace the line of my shoulders, the curve of my jaw, how her gaze lingers a beat too long before she looks away. But I feel it. Every second of it. You ever think about that night? I ask, not looking at her. There's no need to say which night, and she doesn't answer right away. Instead, she closes her hand around the edge of the counter, grounding herself. All the time, she finally says, but I never thought you would. I pour the coffee. The steam rises between us like a breath we've both been holding. I hand her a cup, fingers brushing briefly. The touch is nothing on the surface, just skin to skin. But underneath, it says more than we're ready for. She holds the cup without drinking, the ceramic warming her hands. Her eyes lift again, softer now, less guarded. I used to imagine what you became, she murmurs. Some nights it was the only thing that got me through. That confession is a weapon I wasn't expecting. I let it sink in, let the silence settle around us, like dust. She moves first. Steps around the counter, slow and careful, until she's standing close enough that I can feel the heat of her body cut through the air. Her eyes lift to mine, open now in a way I haven't seen since we were kids, pressed against the back fence of that foster home, whispering escape plans we didn't believe in. I don't know what this is, she says. It's not nothing, I reply. Her throat works on a quiet swallow. Her fingers tighten around the cup. She looks up at me, and something flickers behind her eyes. Fear, yes, but not of me. Of the weight we've carried into this room. Of what will happen if she lets go of the distance she's been holding. I set my coffee down without breaking her gaze. She watches every movement like she's waiting for the floor to fall out from under her. I don't touch her. Not yet. I let the moment stretch, thick and taut between us, and then, finally, she breathes. She sets her cup beside mine and steps forward. Not far, just enough that the front of her sweater brushes my shirt. Her hands stay at her sides, fingers twitching like they want something to anchor them. I let my hand rise, slow and deliberate, and slide it gently along the side of her face. Her skin is warm, soft, and when she doesn't pull away, I let my thumb drift across her cheekbone. Just once. She closes her eyes, not in fear but surrender. For a moment, there's nothing but the sound of the city below and the shallow rise of our breathing. I lean down, not enough to kiss her, just enough that she feels the shadow of it. Her breath hitches. Her lips part, but she doesn't move. I'm close enough to taste the space between us. She opens her eyes then, and the look she gives me isn't uncertain anymore. It's heavy with the past, with the storm of everything that never got said. She whispers, "Don't stop." I don't, but I don't rush either. I let my forehead rest against hers, the simplest contact, soft and grounding. Her hands lift slowly, hesitantly, until they find the edge of my shirt. Her fingers curl there, holding on without pulling, just needing something to touch that won't vanish when the wind changes. We stay like that longer than we should, not kissing, not speaking, and just breathing each other in. The tension builds, steady and slow, like water rising against a dam that isn't built to last. I feel it in every nerve and every flicker of her eyelashes, in the way her thumb brushes the edge of my side as if she doesn't know she's doing it. But she does, and I let her. Because it's the first time in years I've felt something that doesn't end in blood.
Amara's point of view. I should be pulling away. That's what I've done for years. Step back before the fall comes. before the world reminds me that anything soft is breakable. But right now, with his hand on my cheek and the low thrum of tension wrapping around us like silk spun too tight, I can't remember how to retreat. Nico hasn't changed the way I feared. He's harder, sharper, built from the kind of nights that don't forgive. But underneath all that edge is the same gravity that once made me believe we could run and never be caught. When his forehead presses gently to mine, I feel the part of me that has been buried for years stir from its hiding place. I don't say anything. I don't have to. My fingers stay curled in his shirt, not pulling him closer, but not letting go. His breath ghosts across my skin. The warmth of it finds its way down my spine like a secret. I wonder if he feels it too. The pull, the pressure, the silence that isn't silence at all. When he finally exhales, it's the kind of breath people take when they've been holding something too long. And I realize then, so have I. I let my hand rise, not to push him away, just to feel the line of his jaw, the faint roughness where memory has left its mark. His eyes flutter half closed, like the touch itself is something dangerous. It is. We are. But in this moment, I stop running. Just long enough to let the promise wrap around us again. Quiet, undeniable, still alive.
Chapter 4. The balcony between us. Nico's point of view. The quiet after she touched me didn't fade like most silences do. It stayed in the air, thick and deliberate, hanging between us as if the room itself was waiting for one of us to move. But she didn't. And neither did I. Not yet. Later I told myself it was restraint, letting her have control of the moment, letting her decide how far she was willing to trust me again. But the truth lived deeper than that. I didn't move because I didn't want to break the spell. Because it had been too long since something had felt this close to real. Now, hours later, the night stretches outside the windows, spilling into the penthouse with a softness that doesn't belong in a place like this. Amara hasn't left. She's sitting across from me on the couch, knees pulled up beneath her, sweater sleeves falling past her hands. Her eyes drift between the television and the skyline beyond the glass, unfocused. Whatever plays on the screen is only background noise. Neither of us is really watching it. She hasn't spoken since dinner, but I don't need her to. Her presence is louder than any conversation I've had in weeks. Every breath she takes shifts the rhythm of the space. Every movement, small, careful, instinctive, draws my attention without trying. I should be used to beautiful women by now. I've sat across from killers in red lipstick and silk dresses, women who know exactly how to shape their smiles into weapons. But Amara isn't like them. She doesn't wear armor. She carries her scars in the way she sits, in the way she listens to everything at once, as though the world might turn on her at any moment. And maybe it will. But not while she's under my roof. A flicker of light from the television casts shadows across her face. Her hair, still damp from the earlier shower, clings to the curve of her jaw. She catches me watching her, and for a moment, neither of us looks away. She shifts just slightly and the movement draws her closer, folding her legs beneath her. Her foot brushes mine, light and unintentional, but she doesn't move it. I don't either. The air between us tightens. She glances down, then up again, and there's something new in her eyes. Not softness. Not exactly. It's hesitation mixed with gravity. Like she's about to let go of something she's been clutching too tightly for too long. I set the remote down slowly as if speed might startle the moment away. Her gaze follows my hands, then rises to meet mine again. "You're not afraid of me," I say, not as a question. She blinks once, then shakes her head barely. "You should be," I add, quieter this time. Her lips part, and for a second I think she might speak. But instead she shifts again, closing the space between us so that our knees brush fully. Her fingers curl into the blanket wrapped around her waist, knuckles white. I reach out, not to touch her, but to rest my hand on the couch beside her, palm open. An invitation, nothing more. Her gaze drops to it, lingers, then lifts back to my face. Slowly, cautiously, she unfolds one hand from the blanket and lays it in mine. Her skin is warm. Too warm. Her pulse trembles just beneath the surface. I don't squeeze, I just hold it there, letting her feel the steadiness in my grip, the calm beneath the storm. When she leans toward me, it's not dramatic, it's hesitant, measured, like she's testing the air before fully stepping into it. I meet her halfway. My hand rises, brushing her jaw with a softness I didn't know I still possessed. Her breath catches. I trace the edge of her cheekbone, slow and deliberate, then let my thumb drift beneath her chin, tipping it upward slightly. Our faces are close now, closer than before, and I feel the warmth of her exhale against my lips. But I don't kiss her. I stop just short of it, letting the tension stretch tight between us, the promise of something more electric than the thing itself. Her eyes flutter closed, not entirely, just enough to betray how much she's feeling. Her lips part slightly, the curve of her mouth soft and unguarded. My other hand rises, brushing her hair back from her face, fingers sliding behind her ear. Her skin warms beneath my touch. And still, I don't rush. Because this isn't about hunger, and it's about gravity, and it's about the way her body sways toward mine, like she doesn't know she's doing it, like some part of her is remembering how to feel safe. I finally close the distance, letting my forehead rest lightly against hers, just as I had the night before. Her hands lift slowly to my chest, fingertips brushing the fabric of my shirt as though searching for an anchor. "You always did this," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "Waited until I came to you." I don't answer. I just breathe her in. That's all I want right now. Her fingers curl slightly against me. She leans in until her lips almost brush mine, close enough that I feel the ghost of a kiss. But just as I move to meet her, she pulls back. Not fully, just a hair, and her eyes open. The look in them is raw. "I'm not ready," she says, and she doesn't need to be. I lean back, not far, but enough to give her space. I still hold her hand, still keep my other hand lightly against her cheek. I nod once. She exhales a shaky breath, and I see the relief in her posture, the way her shoulders drop slightly, like she expected me to demand more than she could give. "I'm not going anywhere," I murmur. She nods. Her fingers tighten in mine. She doesn't let go. We sit like that for a long time, silence thick and close, hearts beating steady in the dark. And somewhere beneath the quiet, the promise we made all those years ago stirs like a spark caught between two currents, waiting to burn.
Amara's point of view. I thought distance would protect me, that by keeping space between us, I could keep from unraveling. But all it takes is his hand against my cheek, his thumb brushing the line of my jaw, and the parts of me I buried years ago start clawing their way back to the surface. He doesn't push. He never has. Even when I almost kissed him, when I leaned in without thinking, when I felt his breath on my lips and wanted nothing more than to disappear into it, he waited, held still, let me choose. And somehow, that's worse. Because if he demanded it, I could hate him for it. I could run. But this patient, unwavering gravity, I don't know how to fight it. I can feel his pulse through our joined hands, calm and slow. I can feel the heat of him beside me, the unspoken need coiled beneath his skin. But it's the restraint that undoes me. He could take everything right now, and I would let him. But he doesn't. Instead, he sits with me in the space I've never shared with anyone else. This aching, trembling place where fear and want live side by side. And I know then, with terrible clarity, that I'm already his, not because he claimed me, but because he didn't.
Chapter 5. Blood in the Glass Garden. Nico's point of view. The sound of her heels on the marble floor reaches me before I see her. Sharp, deliberate taps that echo through the entrance hall like a warning, or maybe a dare. She doesn't usually wear heels. I know this without asking. They aren't her armor, but tonight she wears them anyway. Not for anyone else. For me. The gala starts in less than an hour, and I've never once cared how these things go. People talk, people drink. Deals are made behind smoked glass. But tonight, the moment I see her step into the room, everything else dulls. Amara, the same girl who used to steal bread with scraped knees and dirt under her nails, is now walking toward me in black satin. The dress catching light in smooth, clean waves as it moves with her. Her hair is swept up but not stiff, loose strands softening the shape of her face. Her lips are painted in something dark and quiet. And her eyes, those same gray eyes I remember from the night we ran through broken fences, are locked on mine with a steadiness that says she's no one's ghost anymore. She reaches me without speaking, her fingers adjusting the cuff of her sleeve like it gives her something to do. I don't say anything either. Not yet. I just let myself look at her. She looks up finally. It's too quiet. Only on the surface, I say, offering my arm. Her fingers curl around it, hesitant but present. The car is waiting out front. Marco's behind the wheel, grumbling to himself, cigarette hanging from his lips even though I've told him not to light it inside the damn car. He mutters something when he sees her, but it dies halfway out of his mouth. He straightens in his seat like someone just reminded him how to behave around royalty. Neither of us speaks during the drive. She watches the city as it passes. This place she once called home, now turned into a web she can't untangle from. Her reflection flickers in the glass, soft and sharp all at once. I keep my hand on my knee, but every breath she takes makes it harder not to reach for her. The venue is all crystal and shadow, the kind of place where people drink from glasses worth more than most lives. I'm pulled into conversations the second we walk in. Names, handshakes, deals spoken without words. But I feel her at my side the whole time, her presence like heat just beneath my skin. They notice her. Of course they do. She doesn't speak much, but she doesn't need to. She stands just close enough to me that no one dares ask who she is, and just far enough that they wonder. That's the power of proximity, of a woman who's not looking to be claimed, only seen. At some point the lights dim. A new violinist starts playing in the far corner. The crowd shifts like water disturbed by wind. I lean in, voice low. Let's get some air. She nods once. We step into the garden terrace behind the ballroom, lit only by strings of warm light woven between the glass pillars. It's quiet here, not silent, but quieter. The kind of quiet that holds something beneath it, waiting. She walks ahead of me, her fingers brushing the edge of a sculpted hedge. Her dress moves like smoke, her back bare beneath the fall of her hair. I follow her without a word. When she stops, I do too. She doesn't turn around. Just stands there, still and deliberate. Then softly, "Do you remember the first time I ran?" I move closer, close enough that I can see the muscles in her shoulders tighten with breath. "You left a note under my pillow," I say, folded in half. "You spelled goodbye wrong." I was 12. I didn't care. I pause. I kept it. She turns then, slowly, the expression on her face unreadable. Her eyes find mine with a sharpness I'm not ready for. There's no fear there, just decision. "I ran because I didn't know what it meant to stay," she says. "But you never ran, did you?" I shake my head once. No," I say. "I waited." She steps forward, 2 strides, that's all. And now she's close enough that I can smell the faint trace of something floral on her skin, warm and subtle, nothing artificial. Her fingers lift slowly, hovering near my chest. Then stop. I don't know how to be close to someone like you, she says. Not when you could break me with your hands. I lower my head just enough to meet her eyes evenly. Then I won't use them. Her mouth parts like she might say something else, but I don't give her the chance. I reach for her, gentle, measured, hand at her waist, the other rising to her jaw. I wait for the flinch that doesn't come. She lets me touch her. Not because she trusts the moment, but because she wants to. My thumb brushes the soft skin just beneath her ear. Her eyes flutter closed for a breath. When they open again, I see it. Need, conflict, permission. I lower my mouth to hers slowly. The kiss isn't rushed. It isn't desperate. It's slow, deliberate, like we're both remembering how to feel everything at once. Her hand rises to my chest, not pushing, not pulling, just anchoring herself. Her lips part slightly, just enough to taste the breath between us. And then, gunfire. One sharp crack, then another. Close. She jerks back. I spin, arm already pulling her behind me, heart slamming into fight mode so fast it doesn't even register as panic. Marco's voice shouts something inside. Chaos erupts. I catch only shadows beyond the garden gates. 2, maybe 3. They vanish into the dark before my weapon clears my jacket. But the damage is done. Not in blood. In fear. She's shaking even though she hasn't made a sound, and I grip her face, hands steady. You're not hurt. She nods, mute. Her eyes are wide and distant, but she stays rooted. Not running this time. That's what breaks me. This wasn't random, this was a warning. She was the message.
Amara's point of view. The kiss still clings to my lips. Even with my heart racing, even with the sound of gunfire echoing in my bones, I can still feel the press of his mouth. Firm, careful, wanting. It wasn't hunger. It wasn't dominance. It was the promise he made all over again. And that's what terrifies me more than bullets. Because I almost believed him. I stood there in a place I didn't belong, wearing a dress I borrowed from a life that isn't mine, and for a moment I let myself lean into him like I had a right to, like the night could belong to us. But danger doesn't knock in this world. It arrives with noise and smoke, and it never leaves the way it came. He holds my face like he's afraid I'll dissolve if he lets go. But I'm not fragile, not in the ways he thinks. My fear doesn't come from dying. It comes from staying. Still, I don't pull away. I let his hands steady me. I let his eyes search mine for something he can hold on to. And I don't lie. I nod once. I'm not hurt. But I'm not whole either. And the closer he gets, the more I want to stop pretending I ever will be.
Chapter 6. Heir or Lover? Nico's point of view. The city is burning slowly, but not in flames and in whispers, in eyes that shift when I walk into a room, in handshakes that hold a second too long, in the way Luca watches me now from across the long dining table, silver fork in one hand, the other resting over his drink like he's deciding whether to toast me or bury me. The attempted hit at the gala hadn't left anyone dead, but that was never the point. It was a message, sent loud and precise, and he knows I got it. Across the table, Luca sets down his glass, leans back and narrows his eyes. She's still in your penthouse? I nod once. He makes a sound in the back of his throat. Part laugh, part warning. You think keeping her close makes her safe? I think keeping her close makes her mine. The corner of his mouth lifts, but it doesn't touch his eyes. You're forgetting who you are. I push back from the table slowly. Not to storm out, but to remind him I don't need to raise my voice to end a conversation. No, I say, I'm remembering. I leave without waiting for permission. Because tonight I'm not interested in pretending. The drive home feels longer than it is. Marco's quiet, the radio off, the engine humming low beneath the tension. We both know the city's watching now. Whoever sent those bullets didn't miss on accident. They were sending a signal that she's a weakness, that I'm compromised, and they're not wrong. By the time I step into the penthouse, the lights are dim. She's curled on the couch in a blanket, book open on her lap, legs tucked beneath her. The fire flickers low across her skin, casting soft light on her bare collarbone, the fine edge of her shoulder. Her hair's down again. She looks up as I enter, but she doesn't speak. I cross the room slowly, removing my jacket, setting it over the back of a chair. She watches me like she's counting every movement, every breath, like she's trying to decide which version of me just walked through the door. The one who can keep her safe, or the one who might burn everything down. I stop just behind the couch, leaning one hand on the back of it. They think you're the soft spot in my armor, I say. Her fingers curl around the edge of the blanket. Are they wrong? I don't answer. She turns back to the fire. I move around, sit beside her. Not touching, not yet, but close enough that the heat of her body reaches mine. She smells like something warm and clean, like she's been trying to scrub the night off her skin but couldn't quite get all of it. I saw you kill a man last night, she says, voice low. I've killed more than one. I know. That's what scares me. You think I'll become that with you? Her eyes lift slowly, and there's something fierce and exposed in them. No. I think you'll become someone else. That silences me more than any threat ever could. She looks away first. Her hand rises to push back a loose strand of hair. I watch the movement, the delicate line of her wrist, the way her pulse beats fast beneath the skin. She's not shaking, but she's close. I couldn't sleep, she says. I know. She swallows. Not because of what happened, because of what I felt after. She doesn't finish the thought, and she doesn't have to. I reach for her slowly. My hand wraps gently around her wrist, guiding it toward me, settling her palm flat against my chest. Her breath catches when she feels the steady beat beneath her fingertips. I'm still here, I say. She doesn't move her hand, just keeps it there, feeling the rhythm. Her lashes lower slightly, her lips parted, not in surprise, but in something deeper, something warmer, like maybe the weight of it all is shifting. When I lean in, I do it slow. She lets me. I press my lips to her forehead, soft and deliberate. And when she exhales, I feel it all the way through me. Her body relaxes just slightly, like the ground beneath her finally steadied. But that calm doesn't last, because even in this room surrounded by silence and firelight, I can feel the threat tightening around us like smoke creeping in through cracks in the walls. I want her away from it, but I also want her here, and that want is beginning to consume everything else.
Amara's point of view. The fire is almost out. The room smells like smoke and steel, and something else I can't name. Something that only exists when Nico is too close and too quiet. His presence is always louder than his voice. I didn't ask where he went tonight. I didn't need to. It's written all over his shoulders. The tension, the weight, the decisions he didn't want to make but did anyway. But it's not his violence that scares me. It's his tenderness. The way he touches me like I might vanish. The way his thumb brushed my cheek before he kissed my forehead. The way he lets me choose the silence without trying to fix it. Because I've never had that before, and now I don't know how to unfeel it. My hand is still resting on his chest, palm flat, heartbeat steady. He hasn't let go of my wrist, hasn't moved an inch since he guided it there, like he wants me to know exactly what I'm holding. I look up at him. His eyes meet mine, heavy and dark, full of everything he won't say. There's a pause, sharp and charged, where I know we're both thinking the same thing. If we cross this line, There's no going back, but I'm already standing on the edge, so I lean in, not for a kiss, not yet, just close enough that he can feel the question in my breath. He answers with silence, and then, slowly, his hand rises to my jaw, tilting my face to his. His thumb brushes the corner of my mouth, soft and searching. I let him, because right now, I want to be found.
Chapter 7. The city burns quietly. Nico's point of view. She left before the sun rose, and not with a note, not with a slammed door or a final glance, just silence. The kind of silence that tells you something's changed and isn't coming back the way it was. I knew she would try. I saw it in her the night before, how her hands lingered too long when she touched my face, how her breath caught like every second was being memorized. I didn't stop her, not because I didn't care, but because I wanted to see if she would stay on her own. And she didn't. The hours stretched long without her. I don't sleep. I don't pace either. I just sit in the same room where she first told me she didn't know how to be close to someone like me. I told her I wouldn't use my hands to break her. But I didn't say I wouldn't fall apart if she left. Marco comes and goes. He tells me about a meeting I don't hear. A message from Luca I don't care about. He doesn't ask where she is, but his eyes flick once to the door before he leaves. And that's enough. Even he feels the shift. The city watches, and it always does, but I wait. I wait because she's still part of every breath. Because when I close my eyes, I can feel the weight of her body leaning into mine, the way her lips hovered just shy of a kiss that never came, the way she let herself be still in my arms, like she hadn't done that for anyone in years. I wait because I don't know how not to. Then, 3 days after she vanished, the door opens. Not with force, not with hesitation, just quietly.
Amara's point of view. I don't knock. I don't look over my shoulder. I don't breathe until the door clicks shut behind me and I hear the silence waiting inside. The same silence that lived between us the night I almost let myself believe we could be something more than a promise made in the dark. The city didn't let me go. Neither did the people chasing me. But it wasn't them I ran from. It was him. It was the way he looked at me without expecting me to be anyone other than what I am. It was the way his hands held me like I wasn't broken, like I'd never been used up and discarded by a world that only wanted pieces of me. It was the way his kiss didn't ask, it offered. I didn't know how to hold that, but I do now. He's in the same place I left him. On the couch, one hand over his mouth, the other resting limp on his knee like he hasn't moved in hours. He looks up the second he hears me. He doesn't speak. Neither do I. I step into the room like I've never left it. My legs are shaking beneath the long coat I've wrapped around myself, but I keep moving. He stands, slow and careful, like he's not sure what version of me he's getting. And then I speak. I didn't run from you, I say. He says nothing, just watches. His eyes burn, not with anger, not with pain, but with the effort of holding everything back. I move closer. They said you'd ruin me, I whisper. They said you'd use me and leave me worse than they found me. And did I? He finally asks, voice low and raw. I shake my head. No. You ruined everything else. Every reason I had to stay gone. Every lie I told myself about what this was. He exhales like he's been drowning, like those words are the only air that ever mattered. Then I'm in his arms. And this time, I don't hold back.
Nico's point of view. The way she collapses into me is quiet, but it's not weak. It's the strength of someone who's been holding too much for too long and is finally letting it drop. My hands find her waist, slide up her back, anchor her there like she's never leaving again. She tips her head, leans into the side of my face, and I feel the breath of her against my jaw, soft and trembling. I pull her closer. Her coat falls from her shoulders. She doesn't stop it. This time when I kiss her, it's not cautious and it's not soft, and it's real. It's her fingers curling into my shirt, her mouth parting beneath mine, the low sound in her throat that speaks more than words ever could. It's the way she lets me lift her slightly, carry her across the room, set her down without breaking the kiss. The way her hands find my face like she's been waiting her whole life to map the shape of it. I don't ask where she's been, I don't care who she ran from, because she's here now, when nothing else matters. Her breath is fast against my mouth, but not afraid. Her legs shift against mine, tangled and warm, every part of her leaning in. I feel her trembling, but she doesn't pull away. She only presses closer. She wants this, not the protection and not the penthouse, me. And when I press my forehead to hers again, when I whisper her name like it's the only word I remember how to say, she whispers back something I never expected. I'm done running. It's not a confession, and it's a vow. The kind people don't break, the kind we made once, years ago, when the world was falling apart around us, and all we had was each other. Now, all these years later, we're back where we started, but everything is different, because now I'm not just the boy who promised to run away with her. I'm the man who stayed, and she's the woman who came back. The world outside still burns in silence, but here, in this room, in this moment, we are the only thing that's real. And I know, without hesitation, without fear, that this time, she's mine. For good.
The end.